Hello, my name is Suzanne Mondoux. I am a French-Canadian author, a voice, a writer of many genres, and to date I've published up to 15 novels, including the one I will have the pleasure of reading for you today. Let Go and Let God, and Then What? But before I read with you chapter 1 of Let Go and Let God, and then what? The big question. And then what I will share my journey as a writer, which begins in Let Go and Let God. Yes, the Let Go and Let God is a series. There is a book 2 that will be available later this year or beginning of next year. This is my home, and thank you for being here with me today. As I write, I desire to bring a profound, unique, and powerful skill set to the strenuous pursuit of shielding wildlife and the environment from ruthless forces. Human beings, everyday life, yes. How we live and why we do what we do, and how we can make a difference, big or small, in each of our decisions, followed by the actions we take every day. We can see and experience how we create our own world and what we desire. I resist the label of activist. I prefer to be perceived as a voice for animals, a writer of many genres, thus perceived as nothing by anyone. I don't seek this, and nor should you. I'm very passionate about the well-being of animals. My globe-trotting career, which I'm very thankful for, has whisked me to exotic and perilous locations, including Nigeria starting in 2001, Mauritania, Republic of Congo, Guinea, and Mali, working in a leadership position in biodiversity, the environmental field, which is quite broad, and conservation, where as part of my duties, I endeavored, hopefully, to educate and to direct sustainable exploration and extraction of our natural resources inhabited by elephants, gorillas, chimpanzees, and many other fauna and flora that live and utilize these habitats. In a polar opposite, I worked in the Yukon Territory and in the Northwest Territories, and I've had the pleasure of exploring Antarctica, and I highly recommend, if you have a chance to go north and south, see these wonderful places. As a mining professional within the environmental field and biodiversity, it's quite interesting spheres, I am pleased to bring a kaleidoscope of experience into my work and share this amongst my colleagues in different workplaces. The many lessons learned, which is very important, which I like to transcend from one journey to another. The many opportunities for sustainable mining come within the corporate world. Who wants to learn? What and when they do, they want to learn, driven by why they want to learn it, and what drives the urgency to learn. And I'm happy to have been part of this for the corporate world. My on-the-ground experience brings wonder and intrigue as to how progress can be realized. I love to share with those who listen. Because of my on-the-ground experience, I am able to write what I live, to write what I know, and share with you the wonders of people, the progress human beings are making within or with their relationship with the animal beings, with the natural world, the natural resources that we are all part of that keep us alive and well, and with the belief we have of what is considered evildoers and who are right, what we protest against without knowing what really goes on behind any closed door, the corporate world, the NGO world, and so forth. And what we believe, the government world, and what we believe to be so true from anything and anyone different from us, from our beliefs. This brings me to my first novel, How I Became a Dragon. And it was written shortly I left the Congo as a project director with the Wildlife Conservation Society. This is at least over a decade ago now. How I Became a Dragon, to me, is a deeply affecting work of fiction inspired by real life, my experience, by the character, a conservationist, Heatha, that charts the course of ivory trafficking from the fierce assault on the elephant to its ultimate destination as a carved piece of ivory. Told from the point of view of a young woman shedding her naive perspective on what it really means to work and dedicate her life for conservation. She and I take you on a journey of how and why elephant lost their life for the sake of their grand tusk. Her chilling and our chilling experience with illegal poaching is certain to move readers, I hope, to do their part to end this vicious crime. The story, How I Became a Dragon, also reveals how many individuals participate in the journey for one illicit piece of ivory. Whether in a large or small way, and how one act of lawless poaching greatly affects the global elephant community. After this journey of writing this book, I wrote Tragedy of the Moth. I wrote Tragedy of the Moth when I worked in Guinea in mining as the environmental director with Rio Tinto. Tragedy of the Moth is inspired by my personal relationships and life experiences. And I am a self-taught writer of poetry, of plays and screenplays, until I found the right mentor, Hayden, when I joined a book and writers club in Yellowknife in the Northwest Territories. And thank you to my English teacher, Mr. Forsyth, as well in high school. Tragedy of the Moth is a non-formative fiction. I say that because I write what I feel and I let myself be guided by what it is I know I am meant to write. Felicity Moss is a starlet with a tragic past. Desperate to stay out of the judgmental gaze of the limelight, she disappears from the public life. She finds new hope in the forgiving love of a noble man, but he too has his own demon, Samuel, an old friend and new threat. The riddle of choices surrounding life and death teases and taunts with the ebb and flow of the tides upon the shores. How long can one keep others from discovering private sins? Tragedy of the Moth is filled with mystery and intrigue. The Tragedy of the Moth is a captivating tale of the theatrical world that enthralls with its poetic prose, scripts, supernatural folklore, and stream of consciousness asides. It's a mind-bending tour de force, I should say it properly, tour de force, about love and tragedy, driving forward to a crashing final. I really enjoyed writing this story because it was a journey of letting go, of letting myself write what I felt I desired to write, without rules, without formula, but just write what my heart desired. It was fun. By the way, the story is set on the west coast of Vancouver Island in Tofino, and between Vancouver and Tofino, where I had lived in Vancouver 20 years and had been to Tofino once, and I would love to return, and I will. My third novel follows The Adventures of Anouk, the First Leap. The Adventures of Anouk is an ecological story of an Assisi human on a quest to save the world. The First Leap, despite her curious appearance as an Assisi human, Anouk had a normal childhood and was happy living with her adopted parents in a faraway land where 3 suns passed in the sky. She loved collecting yamagooseberries in the fields and helping her mother run the kitchen at their inn. Then, on her 16th birthday, Anouk receives a summon by the messenger Aya, who says it is time to return to faraway Rose Island. Anouk, though reluctant to leave her home and family, she is assured by her parents that they always knew the time would come when she must leave and fulfill her destiny as an Assisi. 2 oddly unfamiliar looking beings, Eagle Owl and Kinkajou, arrive to escort Aya and Anouk because the journey ahead will be arduous and fraught with danger. They will have to cross a great sea, pass through many pardoms, and the lands are called there, the pardoms. Some of these are barren regions of devastation and waste. Others are lush paradises that are not quite as they seem, for their spectacular beauty conceals lethal secrets. Anouk realizes that even if she should survive these hazards, she has no idea what awaits her at the end of the journey. I had a great fun writing this. When young Anouk embarks on this enthralling adventure, she discovers the world beyond her parents' inn, which is far more fantastic and dangerous than she could have ever imagined. This series encapsulates my work in conservation, in biodiversity, and environmental field to date. I have transitioned from on-the-ground work to transferring my knowledge and transferring my experience to writing fiction novels. I continue to work in biodiversity, but my transition is part of this journey. I feel I must know from experience to be able to write what I know. We've all heard you can only write what you know. And my experience, and no matter the genre of writer you are, you share with you on paper a part of that is of the writer is always in the story. After writing The Adventures of Anouk, the first leap, I wrote the children coloring and activity book series, I believe. So these are the first books: How I Became a Dragon, Tragedy of the Moth, and The Adventures of Anouk, the first book. And the I Believe series is a series of 10 books. I Believe is a journey of discovery and gratitude with amazing animal beings. At the end of each book, I invite the reader to participate in 30 or 60 days of activities. The child is invited to explore his or her imagination. This series will no doubt empower the reader, the child, to know they are okay just the way they are. They're to know fun by exploring their imagination, and it is okay to ask questions and discover the world around them, and be who they feel they really are without fear or judgment. It was an absolute pleasure creating this 10-book series of I Believe. I would love to hear from the readers, the children, and their parents. Learn from them the changes in their lives, the adventures they found, where they found the courage and knowing, and the knowing that it is possible for them, how they learn and now know everything is possible, and how easy it is to believe in themselves. Immediately after I wrote this series, I wrote the second book of The Adventures of Anouk, and it's Anouk Book of Words, this book here. The Adventures of Anouk Book of Words, this adorable Assisi human, Anouk, the exploring equine human hybrid, as you've learned from book 1, embarks on a second life-changing journey to save the orb's animal beings from extinction. Guided by the mystical, priceless, and powerful book of words, Anouk and her faithful crew, they risk everything, trekking to the underside of the orb. With her loyal friends and new mentors, Anouk learns leadership as she confronts harsh truths of humanity, love, and loss, while navigating the joyful journey to personal power. Anouk discovers that it takes a universe to unite the orb's animal beings. By communicating from the soul with the poach, the exterminators and lifelong enemies of the animal beings, Anouk forges new alliances between human beings and animal beings. It has been 6 years since teenage explorer Anouk and her faithful animal beings, friends, chased her destiny, crossing continents through a perilous post-apocalyptic world to the idyllic Rose Island. Now, at 23, a more mature Anouk is prompted to leave the comfort of Rose Island to bring the mystical book of words to the rightful owners. Risking life, limb, and liberty, Anouk and her crew of animal beings experience the wonders, the secrets, and the horrors of the brutal hunters whose greed destroyed entire species. Anouk Book of Words informs, inspires, and delights in equal measure. wait for this series in becoming a motion picture. I saw every character and heard every sound as I wrote these stories. It will be a fantastic experience on the big screen. I look forward to sharing this experience with you. It'll be so much fun. After writing up to chapter 5, in book 3 of the Untitled, I felt inspired to stop, and like a flashing bulletin board, I saw and heard, write, let go and let God, and then what? I tried to ignore this as I was really into Untitled book 3, chapter 5 already. But I kept hearing, write, let go, and let God, and then what? I listened to my gut instinct. My gut feeling, that's what I should say. I listened to my gut feeling, my instincts, and I'm glad I did. I was also honest with myself that I was not terribly pleased with where I was going with Untitled book 3. It felt difficult to write, and I, the writer, felt bored with the story. I immediately threw myself into writing let go and let God, and then what? I'm very happy I did. Have you ever wondered what would happen if you were to let go and let God take over? What would happen then? What is the worst thing that could happen? For me, through a series of self-improvement and in-depth self-questioning, the story attempts to make you, the reader, reassess what it is that you are capable of. The story takes you into an alternate universe. It takes you into an alternate universe of the world of Delilah to get my point across. As I'm a fiction writer, the story takes you deep into the world of your highest self, as I had to do for myself. Whether you are a fervent believer in God or believe in a higher power, this book will help you to become, I hope, the best you can be. It will allow you to take a peek into what lies beneath all that you think you are, and reveal who you really are and what you are really capable of. If only you'll take one small step. Embark on a new journey and discover a new you. I invite you. Let go and let God, and then what? This autobiography, Suzanne Mondoux, takes you on a journey of self, and I leave it up to you, the reader, to discover what it is that you desire. I wish truly and appreciate, and I truly thank all the readers, the fans who supported me throughout my journey as a writer all these years. I've had many in order for me to succeed at the level I desire. I write so others will read. I write to remain in my sphere, my journey to my highest self. I thank you all for coming along and being a part of this amazing occasion of life that I want to share with everybody. My guides, my angels, my highest self. However you connect with yourself, collide. Let's collide. Let's talk and let's connect. My journey as a writer was painful, truthful, and spiritual. My journey as a creator went from being angry and terrified to being quiet. The journey from how I became a dragon to let go and let God And then what? This journey twists and turns in and out of my sphere, drifting miles away from my sphere as I did, drifting far from my highest self, and then back in. Let's do this. Here we go. Let go and let God, and then what? I will read to you chapter 1. Again, my name is Suzanne Mondoux, French-Canadian author, and happy to be here with you, and thank you again for taking the time to be part of this reading. Chapter 1, and then nothing. And then nothing. That is correct. You are reading this just as it is written. Or you can decide to read this and acknowledge your first gut feeling. What was it? Do you know? Or did you decide to skip over your initial feeling and dismiss it? You know, there is no right or wrong answer. It is just a question, and it is you who is asking the question. So, before you begin your quest for this great inner peace you seek by reading this book, and thank you very much for reading this book, be assured that reading this book will not, I'm going to say it again, will not bring you to that great place of enlightenment that many of you are seeking. When that great place of enlightenment is presented to you, I'm 100% certain, and also speaking from experience, that most of you have responded by ignoring it and poo-pooing all over it. I am not telling you anything new or shocking. When it lands right on your lap, it is poo-pooed all over with questions, suppositions, assumptions, and whatever else you do to it when it is right under your nose. So, please stop right here and forget what you think you hope to learn from reading this book. Your search for this God and this enlightenment is not hiding in these pages. I promise. The purpose of writing this book is to tell you a story, and that's it. Nothing more and nothing less. The story goes like this. Once upon a time, there lived a small cat. Delilah was a calico. She loved roaming the rose field. The rose field stretched long and wide on the edge of her tiny village, Far. Far had a population of 4 people and 17 cats, plus Delilah. That was it. No one else and no other animals lived in Far. Each human lived in their own house. Each cat lived in their own house. Delilah lived in the yellow house at the end of Only Street. It was the only street in Far. Now, let's go back to let go and let God. And then what? And then nothing. Did Delilah and her tiny village of Far capture your attention? Capture your curiosity? Are you intrigued by this story? Do you want to know more from this story? It is a short and simple beginning, like most of us. You only now just read it and never heard of Delilah and her village before. I am equally intrigued and curious as to what comes next. maybe the story will reveal itself to us as we take this tiny journey together of letting go and letting God. And then what? Let us begin by what you know. The cat's name is Delilah. We know this because the creator of the story, me, told us her name. You also know the cat lives in the tiny village afar. You also know this the same way you came to know the cat's name. And you know the cat lives in the yellow house at the end of Only Street. Bear with me. As I was saying, and then what? Ask yourself this question. What drew you to this book? Why are you determined to read it to the end? What do you believe you will read in these pages that you do not already know? Except for what happens next with Delilah. Well, I too wondered a great deal about and then what. I often heard the expression, let go and let God. I had moments in my life when I felt I knew what it meant and actually did let go and let God. And then many wonderful things happened in my life. I got what I wanted. I got what I asked for. Then I let go and let God again. And then I did not get what I asked for. Then comes the question, and then what? And then what popped up in my head before letting go and letting God? When I did not get what I wanted, I assumed it was because it was not meant to be. It was not the right timing. It was not, for many different reasons I had come up with in my own mind. It was a very sensible and rational justification for my disappointment. But did I ever ask myself the question, was I ready to receive? Was I ready to receive it? Was I ready to let go and let God and allow myself to receive it, or did I block it from coming, or did I not even see it? Those questions had never crossed my mind until very recently. Actually, they were not part of my thinking or myself until a few weeks before I started creating this book. It was very much a haha moment, an awakening that now seems obvious. Of course, why had I never thought of this before? Instead, I went from excuses to justifications for why I did not get what I wanted. And when I wanted it, it sounds all too obvious now to consider the one and only thing that it was I who had blocked what I had asked for. How prepared was I to receiving anything and everything I had asked for? How well prepared was I? Did I truly know what I wanted in the first place? And how well prepared was I to even know the difference? I had never really questioned my role, my participation in all of this, in the creation of my own life, my own reality. But what I did know for sure was that God helps those who help themselves. Again, until not long ago, I held a very different belief of what that meant as well. But my belief did serve me well. And I did and could see how God helped me. I could see it and experience it by all the little things that happened in my life. Even when I thought I really wanted something, like a job, for example, and I did not get it. This no doubt landed as a disappointment. I can say with absolute joy now that those jobs that I did not get, thank you. Thank you for having my back when I thought I knew better. A couple of months before writing this book, I chatted with my friend Kath, who took a job I thought would be offered to me. Kath had turned down this position because she had extended her existing contract. I was recommended for the position. I traveled to the country of Georgia. I met everyone. Every day the consultant assured me this was my job. I reviewed the contract and signed. Then the consultant told me the client had requested a backup person for interview in case I did not accept the position. I had not met this person or crossed paths with her until we were checking in at the airport. The moment I shook hands with this person, I knew they had offered her the position. I did not learn of this official decision until 12 hours later. Despite the red flags flashing in front of my face during my stay in Georgia, I was resistant to the decision I had to make for myself. Everything said not to take this job. I was desperate, and I was going to take it knowing full well it would be a nightmare. What an experience. Not getting the job led to a great deal of self-doubt, frustration, and financial stress. I continued my search for a job. Then I got a call for another job. I flew to London. It was a great interview, but I still had red flags show up. I was assured again this was my job. By the time I got home, I was assured an email would be waiting in my inbox to finalize the offer. I waited a week. Nothing. No call, no email. I reached out to them. The person who they thought wanted to resign from the position decided to stay. I was furious, pissed off, and very angry. I continued my search. Then success. I got a job offer I was actually excited about and keen on doing. No red flags. I got the job. After 6 months, the company sought to hire a new manager for a department I would be working very closely with. I contacted my friend Kath, who initially refused the job in Georgia. When I reached out to Kath, she informed me she had completed her contract in Georgia. Her previous contract, and she had taken a job in Georgia. She was now 1 year on the job in Georgia. The woman they hired instead of me could not do the job. I was sorry to hear that. I had sensed and saw the challenges of this position, and it turned out that Kath was keen on taking the job because she was ready for it now. But she also told me I had dodged a bullet. So I was very interested in trying to understand this. After listening to her story, I was beyond joy that I had not walked into that mess. But what I did learn since then about and then what, how I am 100% responsible and accountable for my feelings, what I decide they are, and how I decide what my experience will be, is all up to me. No exceptions, no excuses. However, what was ironic was discovering that the behaviors, choices, and feelings of which I allowed outside forces to control traveled with me everywhere I went. Not new, I'm sure, to everybody. So, the same nonsense I was told I dodged by not getting the job in Georgia was not the point at all. The key lesson to learn, because I had brought myself to another job, what Kath experienced in her job, I was experiencing in my current job. So, in actuality, I had not dodged any bullet. I had not dodged any bullet until I learned that my thoughts, what I think every moment of my life, creates my reality. No exceptions to this either. My life overall was a pretty unhappy existence until I came to understand this, to know this, to experience this. This magical moment, I can say this magical moment, started when I was at Charles de Gaulle Airport Lounge. Well, let's not get too dramatic. It was not all the time a pretty unhappy existence, right? But it was a lot, too much of the time for me. I had a few hours before my connecting flight to West Africa, where I worked. I received a ding on my WhatsApp from my friend Christina. She had sent me a YouTube link for Wayne Dyer. I settled myself into a quiet area of the lounge to listen to the video link. I ate my lunch and sipped my champagne. That was not one of those unhappy moments. I was just at rest in a moment. I sat facing the window and I sipped my champagne. I watched the planes land and take off. I listened to the short video. It was about being grateful for what you did not get in your life that you asked for. Ding, ding, ding. Yep, ding, ding, ding. Until that moment, I had never, ever been grateful for what I did not get. I had been grateful for what I had. Of course, I can say, thank goodness I didn't get this or that on occasion. I said this when, in fact, it did not really matter, or I did not give it too much of my attention. I felt only upset and unaware of the gift of not getting what I wanted when I was frightened of being unemployed, when I was running from something instead of being focused on where I wanted to go and head in that direction. Simple. Essentially, this non-gratitude for what I did not get came from a place where I just did not honor myself or trust my gut feeling, my instincts. I felt way off the mark of being aligned with my highest self. Before that day at the Paris airport, I had read many self-help or inspirational books throughout my adult life. Each time I learned something new and experienced growth. Thank goodness. Excuse me. There was no doubt about that. But after listening to the link my friend Christina had sent me, I continued listening to more and more of Wayne Dyer's YouTube videos. I completely immersed myself with his teachings. Every moment I was not working, I put headphones in my ears and listened. I listened to videos as soon as I woke up, when I ate, when I was in the gym, after work, up to when it was time to go to bed. Then I started all over again the next day. I can say, truly say with absolute certainty, this saved my life. The Wayne Dyer YouTube links directed me to Esther Hicks, or also known as Abraham, author of Law of Attraction and many other great books. I downloaded everything I could find. I immersed myself with Abraham's teachings, and it too was life-changing. It was and still is an exciting journey. It is one that will never end. Around this same time, my friend Aranka told me about Audible books, audible.ca. I had never thought of listening to audiobooks, but I followed my gut feelings, my instincts. I applied what I was learning. I was trusting. I purchased various audiobooks authored by Wayne Dyer and Esther or Abraham. Every day I immersed myself into these books. Since then, it has been a great, amazing, revolutionary change in my life, in my heart, my body, and my soul. I am not the same person as I was before. I decided to make the changes I wanted in my life. And I have been enjoying what I ask for, the experiences I want to live, big or small, and I am still attracting wonderful experiences in my life. So, what does it mean to let go and let God? What the heck do you do with that? Do you do nothing? Do you sit back in your lazy boy chair playing with the TV remote, the remote control, and wait? Do you blah, 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 it goes on and on, the questions. These questions swirl around in your head like a tornado. I know this. So, why is Delilah roaming the rose field? You can create your own reason as to why Delilah is roaming the rose field. You can come up, you're free, you can come up with all the answers you want, but you will never know why. And you will never know why until the creator of the story, me, thank you, tells you why Delilah is roaming the rose field. But you are free to create your own story. You are free to create your own reasons, your own story as to why Delilah is roaming the rose field. Delilah's life can take many different turns depending on the story you decide to create for her. She can have a happy life, or a sad life, or a boring life, or a whatever life. Does it matter? If it does matter, why not? Sorry, if it does not matter, why not? If it does matter, why does it matter? What difference does it make? And why does it make a difference? Who and what decides what kind of life Delilah experiences? Who cares? Who cares? What kind of life can Delilah have in a tiny village of 4 people, 18 cats, and 1 street, anyways? And then what? That is what you want to know. This question has led me, I could say has led me to much confusion and frustration and anger. It has led me to what the fuck? Exactly that. Over and over again. How does this all work? What am I supposed to be doing? This real story started not so long ago when I jumped into this human body, this female human body, just like you. I squeezed my way out of my mother's womb. Just like you, I have a father. Just like you, life happened. Or did it? Does it? What does happen? Despite my different experiences and adventures in my life as this human female, I doubt I am much different than you, and you are much different than me. How different can we be? How similar are we? Is it our contrasts that make it interesting to know one another? Or to ignore one another? Or to hate one another? Or to kill one another? I cannot imagine there being too much contrast in Far with only 4 people, 18 cats, and 1 street. They either get along like a house on fire or cannot stand the sight of one another. This may be why Delilah is roaming the rose field. Who knows? I am just making this up as I go along this journey with you. And then what? That is the question, is it not? I have very few memories of my childhood. I have no memories of me laughing or playing or any real exciting childhood memories. I do have some memories of my childhood. I am sad in all of them. I am angry in most of them. And I am stupid most of the time. Whose fault is that? Yeah, whose fault is that? I think I need to say that again and louder. Whose fault is that? Yes, I'm emphasizing my question with multiple exclamation mark that you can't see, but you will see in the book. That is a for sure way to getting an answer, is it not? Again, what the fuck? Someone has to take the blame for this. I carried this shit with me my entire life until, and then what? Which did not come to me immediately. Like I said, in case I did not make myself clear the first time, I carried this shit with me my entire life. It's written in capital. So, does the capital letter emphasize my dissatisfaction with all of this? I just want to be certain that I am very clear on this point, as I am sure that you have made yourself extremely clear of your dissatisfaction, of your childhood pain and suffering. And that with absolutely no doubt, this must be someone else's fault. That it is someone else's fault, that you carry this pile of fault on your shoulders every moment of your life. With every breath you take, the load of fault presses down ever so heavily on your shoulders, to the point that each of the vertebrae of your spine crash down against one another. Then you have a sore neck, sore back, and on and on. But this is because it is someone else's fault. And then what? Let us go back to Delilah and the tiny village of Far. Delilah roamed the rose field. It was a beautiful, cool autumn morning. The sky was blue. The sun shone bright. The tree branches shone bright with orange, red, yellow, and brown leaves. The trees wrapped around the village along the edge of the rose field. Two large trees stood tall on each side of the rose field. The branches braided together, creating a vibrant arch of leaves. The braided archway was the only way in and out of the rose field. Now, you may be asking yourself, how can there be a rose field in autumn? My answer to this question, it is my story, and I can create it any way I decide. Why not have a rose field in autumn? Whether the rose bushes have produced flowers or are dormant and waiting for spring and summer, it is still a rose field, unless someone decides to cut it down and remove all of the rose bushes to create something completely new and different in place of the rose field. Like a concrete shopping mall, for example, which can be useful. And that depends on who is creating the story. But in truth, I should not have to explain or justify the creation of my story to you or anyone. And that goes for you as well. Before you learned it was autumn in the story, did you even ask yourself if the rose field had roses or not? Did you just know that there was roses ready to be plucked from its bushes and ready to be bundled into a bouquet? Since the scene was set in a rose field, you probably assumed the season was between April and September. That is an easy and sensible assumption to make. Or maybe you made no assumption and just saw Delilah in the rose field. Again, there is not a right or a wrong answer. It is not a question, but ask yourself this question. Which of the two make you feel good? To make an assumption with a great possibility of a false outcome, one that is not even close to what you conjured up in your head? Or does it make you feel better to trust your gut, your instinct, those feelings about what you felt first? Whatever that was for you. As I said, it was a beautiful autumn sunny morning. Delilah licked the dew off the grass. She walked along the edge of the field, looking at the center of the field. Roaming the edge of the rose field was as far as she ever went. She always looked out at the center of the field, where a small pond glittered in the sunlight. Leaves floated in the water. Her yellow house at the end of Only Street was also on the edge of the village. It was very convenient and very comfortable for Delilah to live on the edge of the village because it was close to the edge of the gate into the rose field. I remember many years ago, I had asked God for wisdom. I wish I could say the years that followed were the most blissful and enlightening years of my life. Not even close. Without even knowing it, I had become an explorer of my soul, of my true self. And after many years of exploring wisdom, I was not any closer to finding it or being wise. So, if I were to grade myself as to whether I was a great explorer or a pretty poor explorer, the result would be a pretty poor explorer. But it was still not until some years later that I discovered this to be the incorrect answer. How could I not have been a great explorer? I asked a question and received an answer. I jumped right in, my feet firmly planted on the edge of the precipice. Without hesitation, I jumped. I had no idea what it meant to be wise when I asked God for wisdom. When I asked the question, I was not even in the place of letting go and letting God. The question, and then what, was not even in my thoughts. I just asked. Life happened. Life presented me with many roads to walk. Life presented me with many people to bring into my life. Did I always make the choice that made me feel good? Many times yes, many times no. But each time I felt good with my decision, it was because I trusted in my gut, my instinct, my feelings. When I went against my gut instinct, I'm sure you know how I felt. Not good. But did it stop me from ignoring and going against my instincts? No. Going against my better judgment kept me on the edge of the rose field. I could see in, but did not dare walk in. I was stupid, remember? You learned this fact early in the story. I was told I was stupid, and I was treated as being stupid starting way back in kindergarten. My kindergarten teacher told my mother I was a retarded child. That is how they labeled us then. So, my mother asked why she assessed me as a retarded child. Because she is quiet. She does not talk. She does not answer me when I asked her to do something. She spends her day by herself, playing by herself in the corner, replied the teacher. Suzanne has always been quiet and has always kept to herself, replied my mother. I doubt she was so calm when she replied, though. When you ask her to do something, do you say please? From my understanding of the story told by my mother, I believe this ended that conversation. And it was the last time the teacher ever made that comment about me. Again. However, this mental assessment of my worth in this society did not end there. I went from retarded to stupid. But do not feel sad or bad for me. I believed it. So it was true. I thought it, and I made it come true. You are what you think. Is this not true? This was way before the wisdom journey even began. I was so far from the start line. Well, I thought I was. But in actuality, I only know now that I was always at the start line. Being at the start line of my life towards let go and let God was right there staring me in the face. At the tender age of 3, 4, 5, I knew exactly what I was doing. I made the choices to get what I thought I needed from my parents, knowing full well I would never get it. I had no idea then that it was all up to me how I decided I wanted to feel. Who the heck knows this at the age of 3, 4, or 5? But my heart did know exactly what was for my highest good then, as it does now. I remember feeling this. I have the memory of these feelings. But going to God for this was not in my hemisphere at all. Really, no kidding, right? I recall the human memory of God and Jesus on the cross and all that. Yes, I grew up a Catholic. I remember being told that if I was good, I would receive roses and go to heaven. If I was bad, you guessed correctly. Excuse me. No roses, no heaven. There was a whole lot of nonsense like that. But it never took me away from God. I knew exactly who God was, and it was not what I was being taught, and that offended me. I kept little secrets to myself of who God really was for me and to me. However, even this knowledge did not stop me from making a shitload of bad choices that I cannot help but wonder how different my life would be today. But my choices are my choices, and they are what has brought me here today with you. So thank you. I appreciate this and I'm grateful. And I can say it is a pretty awesome right here and now. Let go and let God, and then what? And then nothing. So what do you expect from this God of yours? What do you really know about your God? Maybe this could be a good place to start to find out. And then what? Maybe it is a whole lot of nothing. Or maybe it is a whole lot of wow. Subtle as and then what? Maybe decide for yourself what the option of not discovering, and then what? And then nothing can be the most amazing nothing of your life. It does mean you need to get your butt off the lazy boy chair and stop playing with the TV remote control and get out there in life and be. Can you be? By the way, there is no I hope for, I want whatever, I pray for, anything that you wish for. Either you know, and then what, or do not. If you do not, ask the question, and either you know it is done, you can see the outcome, because as they say, if you can dream it, you can make it happen. No exception. I invite you to read as many books as you can on the law of attraction and the likes and all that stuff. Figure it out. Go for it. Head first. Zero hesitation, because either you want your life to change or you do not. And before you start scrambling around in your head for all those excuses, stop. I am certain they are all wonderful and amazing stories. How are they working for you? Think about that. Think of all those stories. And for all of you who made the decision to be parents, whether it was planned or not, we know you love your children and you would do anything for them. We know you would even throw yourself on the sword for them. Sacrificed your life, sacrificed your dreams and all that. You can stop right there as well. Stop using your children for the decision you made. Do not throw them into this mess of self-indulgence of storytelling. They do not make for good bedtime stories, and they make for even less of a good daytime story. Imagine you're sitting with your children during story time. You gather them in front of you. Next to your reading chair, you pull out from your stack of children's books, Mommy and Daddy and their sad stories. Why I feel sorry for myself and why the world owes me. Something like that as a title. You get the picture? Now, would you allow anyone to read this book to your children during reading time, at home or school? I don't think so. So please cut this out and pay attention to how you think. Get back into that gut instinct of yours and be aware of your thoughts before you open your mouth. Let go and let God. And then what? And then nothing other than being who you are. Attract in your life who you are, you the being, instead of what you want. Can you feel the difference? Say this out loud to yourself. Feel it, feel it, feel it come to you by aligning yourself, your feelings to your vision, your desire to you. Let it flow and set the course for allow it to flow to you. We have all heard the saying, get out of your own way. All that negative thinking about yourself, I'm too old, I have no money, being an actor is a tough business, I won't make it, I won't make a living at this, I won't make a living at being a painter, a singer, an artist of any form. I don't have the education. I'm not smart enough. I have children. I'm too old to change my career. I'm still in trauma from my childhood. I'm still in trauma from my childhood abuse. On and on and on. They are all great stories, great excuses. I promise you, the moment you make the decision to make the change in your life that you want, that you desire, that you know is bringing you back to your true self, it will happen fast, at the speed of light, with ease and with joy. You will set the wheels in motion of a never-ending story of what is to come and will keep flowing in your life. Or you can continue believing your story and then nothing. And then what? Being. We have all heard, if you want respect, then be respect. If you want love, then be love. If you want whatever, be whatever that is. Be first what you want to attract in your life. I wanted kindness, so I became kindness. I am kindness. I am being kindness. It still takes practice, but I am doing it. I am being it. Even when I stumble and fall, I pick myself back up and start over again. You get the picture. and then what is only in the now. You will not and will never go back and change all that stuff that brings you to a place of blame, fault, and anger for your past life, your past experiences. It is only right here and now where the and then what is activated in your immediate sphere, where you stand in the present moment. Even 5 minutes ago is no longer in your sphere. But what propels that sphere of here and now is the here and now. Your decision to be real, truthful, and accountable for your right here and right now. I would love to meet those who can change the past and those who can predict the future, who can predict the failures of their future. The illusion of focusing on what was and what will be because of your past is just that, an illusion. Your future is only in the here and now. You either hesitate on the edge of the rose field or look out onto the beautiful sparkling pond in the middle of the field and head in that direction. So while Delilah roamed along the edge of the rose field, a small red caterpillar crawled out onto a rosebush branch. Delilah stopped in her tracks. She had never seen anything like it before. She had never seen anything other than the 4 humans and the other 17 cats in Far. The caterpillar crawled out further along the rosebush branch until it reached the tip of the branch. Delilah watched closely. Her ears stood straight up. Her eyes looked straight ahead, big and wide. The caterpillar crawled along the branch, paying no attention to Delilah. It continued crawling around the tip of the branch until it dipped over. The caterpillar dangled upside down from the underside of the branch. Delilah rushed to the caterpillar. She put her nose beneath the caterpillar to stop it from falling to the ground. The caterpillar fell onto the tip of Delilah's nose. Delilah's eyes moved towards one another. Cross-eyed, she now saw 2 caterpillars. The closer the caterpillar crawled up along her nose towards her eyes, the more difficult became for Delilah to see the caterpillar. She slowly rubbed her nose up against the rose bush. She rubbed her nose left to right along the branch until the caterpillar found its way back onto the branch. Delilah stepped aside when the caterpillar was safely on the branch. Delilah watched the caterpillar crawl around the rosebush branch. After showing no sign of falling off the branch, Again, Delilah meowed quietly in the hopes of getting the caterpillar's attention. She meowed a few times. The caterpillar continued doing what a caterpillar does, focusing ahead along the branch. But Delilah had no idea what she was looking at or what a caterpillar usually does. She tried again and again to get the caterpillar to pay attention to her. She walked to the other side of the rose bush. Her nose nudged the branch, causing it to shake. The caterpillar stopped crawling and remained still. Delilah was running out of ideas of how to get the caterpillar to pay attention to her. She had so many questions for this fuzzy worm-like insect who continued to crawl and go about its business while paying zero attention to Delilah. Delilah jumped up and down. She ran around the rose bush. Discouraged, she stretched down on the grass and gave up her futile attempt at getting any attention from this mysterious creature. Delilah stretched out on her belly. She turned over onto her back with her legs up in the air. She started up at the branch. She studied the caterpillar wiggle around the branch. The morning dew evaporated from the grass. The sun rose a little higher in the sky. Delilah was thinking about what she would have for lunch later. She rolled onto her side. She yawned a few times. Her eyes closed and opened and closed again. Just as she was about to fall asleep, the caterpillar dropped down onto her nose. Now, at the end of this chapter, there's an activity page. This is the end of chapter 1. So in the activity page, you have 10 pages to write. Write Delilah's story. What do you see happening from here? What does fire look like to you? Create your own story. The second question is, write what let go and let God, and then what means to you before reading any further. I invite you to learn as much about yourself from the few pages you have read up to this point. So these are questions. So in the book, Let Go and Let God, at the end of each chapter, there are 10 chapters. There's an activity page with a series of questions for you to participate in your story and in this story. I want to thank you again for taking the time to share my journey with you and to be part of my stories and to take the time to listen. And I'm happy to reach out, and I'm looking forward to your reaching out and sharing your stories with me. Thank you and happy reading, and thank you, and I appreciate all of your support. Have a wonderful day. Again, my name is Suzanne Mondoux.